Hey guys, welcome to another episode of How to Be an Adult. So today we're taking a look at the Pareto Principle, Pareto analysis, and how to build a Pareto chart in Excel. In the 1940s, a business consultant in the US from Armenian descent developed the Pareto Principle and named it after Vilfredo Pareto, a famous Italian economist who at the beginning of the 20th century, I think 1906, noticed that 80% of Italy's wealth was owned by 20% of its people. He did the same survey in other countries and found out that this distribution is pretty much the same. It was 40 years later when it was developed as a principle. It's also known as the 80-20 rule or the vital few against the trivial many. And basically the idea is to select the most major causes that give us the largest portion of the problems. So they found out that about 80% of innovation ideas come from about 20% of employees. About 80% of your success comes from only 20% of your effort. 80% of customer complaints are usually connected with 20% of the products or services that the company provides. And about 80% of important decision making is made in about 20% of time spent discussing decisions. About 20% of a system's defects give about 80% of the issues in using the system. Also, about 20% of your sales force is responsible for 80% of your revenue, and about 20% of your product portfolio actually makes about 80% of your profit. The Pareto Principle is most widely used in quality control. The biggest value that it gives management is that it reminds managers to focus on those 20% that are the most vital, that would give us the most benefit for the companies. The Pareto analysis is really useful when you have many courses of action that are fighting for scarce resources, for attention. So then we would estimate the benefit of each activity and select the several most beneficial steps to take to maximize the outcomes. The approach for a Pareto analysis is about 5 steps. First, we identify the problems. Then we identify the causes for those problems. Then we rank the issues based on the extent of negative impact to the company or project. We organize them in groups. We develop and implement an action plan to solve those problems, starting with the highest ranked first. The goal at the end is to create a Pareto chart or Pareto diagram, which is a great visual representation of our Pareto analysis findings. I think the best way to understand how the analysis works and how the diagram works is to just take an example and create the diagram in Excel together. Okay, so what we have here is some data from a survey that we did for our Magnimetrics project with my friend Ziggy. And one of the questions we had was, what are the biggest issues that people face when they have to perform financial analysis? We gave people a few predefined answers, and most of the people that filled our survey selected one of those or a few of those. We asked them if the biggest issues they have to tackle have to do with identifying areas to analyze, building a financial analysis template, identifying the data required to perform the analysis, collecting the required data, preparing the data for import, running the template calculations, analyzing the results, and preparing the report. So summarizing findings, creating charts, etc. I have the data for this question. Let's go ahead and analyze it with a Pareto chart. Okay, so here we are in Excel. I've cleaned up our responses, and this is all the data that we have for what people selected as answers to the question of what they find hardest when they have to prepare a financial analysis. What we're going to do next is I'm going to create a pivot table. The rows, we're going to have the selected answers, and in the values, you're gonna get the count. Remember, we need the count of instances. Actually, first I'm gonna use my own macro for applying some formatting. So this is a Pareto analysis, just a macro that I created to like apply styling to a sheet. And then we're gonna copy those and paste them as values. Occurrence. And this is our option selected. What I'm gonna do next is let's just make it look a bit prettier. Order those largest to smallest. I'm gonna delete the NA that somebody answered And I'm also gonna capitalize this N. What we can do is get the cumulative percentage, copy the formatting. I'm gonna add a total here. What we need now is to calculate the cumulative percentage. The way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna use a sum, and I'm gonna use a fixed starting point at C8, and I'm gonna go down to C8. That way, when I drop down the formula, it's always gonna start at cell C8, and it's gonna go further down towards the cell that I need. And this whole thing, I'm gonna divide by the total and fix that with F4. Out HP to format as percentage. I'll just go to the Home tab and click percentage, and just gonna drop that down and see that our cumulative percentage as D8 is 100, and if it wasn't 100, then we made some mistakes with our formula. I'm gonna type in the Pareto line, and this is something that I like to do, is just to know when I'm passing the 80% line that we're looking for. This is gonna be 80% all the way through. You're gonna see if it's a primary selection. I'm just gonna name that selection. If this is above 80%, then I want this to be secondary, because we've already achieved our primary options that we're going to be focusing on, and otherwise I want it to be primary. Let's drop that down. I'm using Control D to do that, and we can see our primary highlighted, our primary issues that we have, that people have with performing financial analysis. So if we're building our product properly, those are going to be the issues that we're going to focus on, and those are going to be the features that we're going to implement first in order to maximize the value that we can offer to our potential customers. What we're going to do next is get the occurrences only for the primary. So if this equals primary, give me the occurrence, and otherwise give me a 0. Copy that down. Okay, so now we can build our Pareto chart, but those are kind of long, so they're not going to be able to stack well in our chart. So I'm gonna just add a new shortcode. Okay, so now that we have our shortcodes, what we're gonna do is gonna build our Pareto chart, and there is a Pareto chart in here directly, but I'd rather use just a regular column and then pick it up from there, and you're gonna see why it's easier to change the settings to our data series and how they appear. So I want the occurrence, and I want the cumulative percentage, and I also want the primary occurrences. Okay, let's just add a chart, and you see we have the 3 of those, and then what we can do is change series chart type. So our occurrence is going to be a clustered column. Our cumulative percentage is going to be on our secondary axis, and it's going to be a line. And our primary occurrence is going to be clustered column on the primary axis. Just make this a little bit bigger. Let's format our chart series a bit. Okay, that's it. Now we have the primary from here, the primary occurrence going over the occurrence, and that way we're going to be able to highlight the ones that we need to focus on. So those are going to be the ones that we focus on. You can see here that it's more like 80-50 rule and not 80-20, but still we're able to exclude 3 of the issues, and we can see that actually data collection is the largest issue that people are facing. So maybe maybe in this analysis we're not even gonna go as far as 80%. We can maybe start with the first 3 up to here, up to results analysis, and go on. So this is pretty much our Pareto chart. We can actually add a series, and this series is gonna be the Pareto line, and the values are gonna be the 80%. Just gonna make that a regular line, not a stacked line. And now we get a marker at where we pass the 80% Pareto line. So this is going to be my dark blue to match the color here, and my other chart series is gonna be like some kind of lighter blue, so we're not focusing on those. Want those to be a bit like a smaller gap. Okay, much better. Make this even bigger. We're gonna see the text normally below. And this is a really easy way to notice and to visually represent, especially if we're giving a report or something like that, to visually represent how our options stack up together. So we can easily see that data collection is the #1 issue that our potential customers are facing. This means that it's going to be the #1 issue we try to solve with our product. By solving this, we're going to give much more benefit to our potential customers, and we're much more likely to get them on board to using our product. Name that Pareto chart, remove the outline and the shape fill, maybe even remove those grid lines. You can also see that we're going up to 120% here. If we go to the axis options, we can make that 1. You're gonna go to 100%. And yeah, that's pretty much it, building a Pareto chart in Excel. Okay guys, so in summary, the Pareto analysis is a technique that's used for decision making based on the 80-20 rule. We separate a limited number of input factors as having the most impact on our outcomes. It is important to remember that Pareto analysis applies to historical data only, and it is as good as the data we input into it, so it will not help us with forecasts or estimations of future performance. And it's also a great tool for when we have limited resources to allocate to a larger number of issues that we need to solve within our organization. Okay, I'm gonna leave a link in the description below to an article that looks a bit more in depth with in the Pareto analysis and the Pareto chart, and there's also an Excel file there that you can use to go through all the steps. I hope you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and also don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and maybe even punch that bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. Till then, thanks for watching and see you next time. Welcome to another Hey guys, the Pareto Principle. In the 1940s, when they have to that gives us a really easy to read